Good morning, this is Mike Wagner with U.S. Launch Report. Yeah, it's Friday and it should be launch day for SpaceX CRS-5. Unfortunately, during test firing procedures earlier in the week, SpaceX ran into a little difficulty. Rather than try to remedy the problem right away because of the holidays, they decided to put off the launch till January 6th of next year. So next from here we're going to go over to see the Orion capsule that just arrived yesterday after its trip around the Earth in 4.5 hours, and they're going to give us a close-up view of that. So stay tuned. We'll see you again next year. This is Mike Wagner. We'll see you on January 6th again. This is Mike Wagner with U.S. Launch Report. Thanks a lot for watching.
Exactly 2 weeks ago today that it launched from Space Launch Complex 37, right over there, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Went 66,000 miles around the Earth. Its furthest point out was 3,600 miles. Came screaming back into Earth at 20,000 miles an hour, building up 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures on the heat shield that you see here, and made a pinpoint landing, splashdown in the Pacific Ocean 600 miles off the coast of California, traveled the 600 miles back ashore, and then completed a trek of 2,700 miles across the U.S., arriving here at Kennedy yesterday. And we are so pleased to have Orion back.
Good morning, I'm Louis Garcia, NASA Ground Operations Manager, and I manage the transportation across country. It was an honor and a privilege to bring America's Orion spacecraft back home to Kennedy Space Center. We departed Naval Base San Diego Wednesday, December 10th, around 10 p.m., and we arrived yesterday, December 18th at noon. Our 7-member team, consisting of NASA, Jacobs, and Lockheed Martin personnel, worked collectively with the carrier to travel through 8 states in 8 days. We provided conditioned air to the crew module while monitoring the crew module temperatures. We took hazardous readings at every stop and provided 24-hour security. Our convoy also had another tractor trailer with a spare purge unit and generator, spare parts and tools. We had an extra tractor in the convoy in case we needed to change a tractor out. The weather en route cooperated nicely, and we're thrilled to be back here at the Kennedy Space Center.
And now I'd like to introduce Jules Schneider with Lockheed Martin. Jules.
So first of all, we're very excited to have Orion back home at the Kennedy Space Center. A little bit about what's going to happen in the near future. So for the year-end holiday shutdown, the vehicle's basically going to stay, as you see it right now, in this facility. And the whole Orion team is going to take some well-deserved downtime until the first of the year. We'll come back at the first of the year, and then we'll continue to gather data that we need to get off the vehicle to complete the 90-day EFT-1 flight test final report that we owe NASA on March the 5th, which is launch day plus 90 days. We did deliver the quick look report today. It was due 14 days after the mission, which is today. That went to NASA, I believe, this morning. There were 87 flight test objectives. We met 85 of those. That's at the very high level. The two we didn't meet were associated with the CMUS, the crew module uprighting system. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when we splash down, the big orange balloons that pop out on the front end of the vehicle to keep the vehicle from tipping over. We actually had, I believe, 4 out of the 5 deploy, but 2 of those 4 lost their pressure quickly. 2 stayed pressurized. So the 2 flight test objectives that we did not meet were associated with that. They were considered minor objectives, and the team is off trying to figure out what caused that. And all of the pyro events happened nominally. The heat shield performed very well. I don't know if you could tell. We've actually taken a few core samples off the heat shield already, and they're looking at those. We will be removing the heat shield from this vehicle later in February, so we'll get an even better look at it. But the short answer, Ken, is everybody was incredibly pleased with the performance of the vehicle, and I mean, I think you can tell it came through the trial by fire pretty well. The reason we fly these missions is to get that kind of data, right? So the data that we'll get off of the performance of this heat shield will go into the development of the next generation of the heat shield. But I don't, as far as I know, and I'm not on the design side, I don't think there are wholesale changes coming to the heat shield. I believe that we'll just learn from this mission and incorporate any kind of improvements we need to incorporate based on what we learn. But I don't think there are large wholesale changes coming to the heat shield design. That's all I know. I don't know anymore. We'll be in here. We're going to leave here and go to the PHSF to offload the hazardous commodities that are still on the vehicle in mid-January. We're going to come back into here and do some more work on it. Go back to the PHSF and get it completely decontaminated, and then probably go over to the ONC building. So it's probably late March, early April before we get back to the ONC. As soon as we get back from the holidays, January the 5th, we'll start taking the back shell panels off, the conical section, so we can expose all of the aft bay components on the outside of the pressure shell. We've already been inside the pressure vessel out on the pier. We'll do some more work in there. There is a lot of debate right now as to how much of the vehicle we're going to take apart. Because the vehicle performs so well, there's some people rethinking about how much we want to disassemble and how much we may want to keep assembled so we can use it going forward on the ground, of course, doing testing, etc. So I can't tell you exactly how much we're going to take apart. We're definitely taking the back shell panels off. We're definitely taking the heat shield off. But after that, it's probably still being discussed as to how much further we'll take the vehicle apart. The EM1 pressure vessel should arrive here in November of 15.
Very exciting, and a lot of times going down back roads, we would say to ourselves, I wonder if these people know that we have a $350 million spacecraft in here going right by their neighborhood. So it's very exciting, and we are thrilled to be back, like I said earlier.
So the Capsules propulsion system is a monopropellant hydrazine system. So we loaded around 300 pounds of hydrazine on the system for the flight. We only burned, I think the report said that we turned in today, we burned 92 pounds coming back in. So there's almost 200 pounds, or just over 200 pounds of hydrazine on board. And then there's an ammonia cooling loop on the vehicle, and I believe we have about half of the ammonia still on board. I think that's around 50 pounds. Don't quote me on the 50 pounds, but somewhere around that. So we have hydrazine and ammonia, and those are the hazardous commodities that we still have to remove.
Mike Wagner reporting for U.S. Launch Report. We're here. Behind me is the Orion capsule. Just returned to Kennedy Space Center. It was an 8-day road trip after its, 4.5-hour flight around the Earth, reaching an altitude of 3,600 miles, where with just an awesome splashdown and great video of it re-entering after it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. Today was supposed to be the Falcon 9 CRS-5 launch, but it was canceled due to technical problems with the firing of the motor. So that launch will be coming to you January 6th, and we'll be back here for it.